So at this point, I can get a bit more comfortable on the stage here. So I know most of you may well know him or have met him this evening, but I'd like to formally introduce Mr. Saroop Singh Landa, who is the author of this book, The Sikh Community of Manchester, A Personal Perspective. To our knowledge, this is the first book of its kind, the first book that is documenting the Sikh histories of Manchester, which are actually not just important for Manchester, but for the UK Sikh community and beyond. So we thought we'd just have a little bit of a chat, really, about the book, and maybe just share some insights with you about why Mr. Landa wrote the book and the process, and a few short readings. We're not going to take up too much time, because we've got someone quite important here who's also going to say a few words. We've got lots of food, we've got books to sell, and we've got the heritage table at the back there. But let's have a little chat about the book. So the first question, I think, has got to be, can you tell us a bit, why did you write the book, and what was it like writing a book? If you can tell us a bit about the process.
First of all, I would like to say that I haven't written anything in my life, and I didn't know how to write anything. I used to work, and through work, I used to discuss with my colleague and my dear friend Anuj Rampal, and he used to ask me some questions from the yesteryears, and then all of a sudden he started to forcing me to write these, because he said, you know the history, why don't you write? I told him, I said, no, I can't, because I've not written anything. But he pushed and he pushed, and then another friend of mine, Baldevji, he really encouraged me. He said, yes, you must put pen to paper. And then I started, and then I looked, where do I start? I don't have a story or anything like that. Then I looked at myself and said, right, I came into this country in 1959. Where did I come? I came into the Gurdwara. And that was my starting point. And the other starting point which really gave me the inspiration was to getting hold of the old fund collection list, which was very important in this book to give me a start. Once I got, that nearly took me 2 years. Once I got the list and I started writing, then I went on, and it has taken me nearly, 7 years? But last 3 years I've been very busy and intensive in getting everything together. And that's how the book came about. It's about the history of my elders, your elders, how they came here, why they came here, and what they went through to gain what we have today. And the coming generation must know, and they should never forget their prior history or ethnicity, identity, how we have gained a perspective life in Manchester.
Thank you. It's something that we believe very strongly in the organisation I work for, is that history is for everyone, and historical books are often written by academics and people who spent a long, long time at universities and so on, but it is just as important to have histories written by people like yourself, Mr. Saroop Singh, and people like you in the audience, because there will always be things that academics and specialists don't know that you guys know. So let's talk a little bit about the histories that are captured in the book. For me, something that really stands out was the founding of the first Gurdwara in Manchester, and you referred to the list of people who donated to the fund for that. Could you tell us a little bit about what the community did before there was this Gurdwara, and then how that first Gurdwara was established?
It's well known now that the first Gurdwara was established in London, which was Maharaja Patiala's Bhupinder Singh's rest house. One of the rooms in that rest house, the Sikhs who lived around London, they accessed that room and put Guru Granth Sahib Ji in there, and that's how the first Gurdwara became. But the Gurdwara came later, but before, when our Sangat lived in London, and they started holding the Sunday prayers every Sunday. And what used to happen was everybody, all the Asians, not only Sikhs, Hindus, Muslims, and anybody who lived there, it sort of became a community center for them to come each Sunday and gather there. And that's it. But suddenly, later on, when people moved out of town and Manchester, people started living here. And there was a gentleman, Mr. Bhai Singh Landa, lived here from a long time. And he used to hold every Sunday these prayers in his house. Suddenly, the community grew, and obviously the room they held the prayers in became smaller. Then on one day in 1952, the congregation which was sat around on that Sunday, they made a decision to make a Gurdwara which will cater for the Sikhs, which are now community in Manchester. And they nominated 4 people: Sardar Bhai Singh Landa, Sardar Khajan Singh Pakad, Sardar Sant Singh Pardesi, and Sardar Mela Singh Pakad. These were the 4 people who headed the fund collection. And how these elder people collected, even though being of older age, they went all over UK to collect funds from the Sikhs. And in them days, because England was only had come out of the Second World War and were recuperating itself in a way, they were just getting on their feet again. But the financially, everybody was not very stable. But what the Sikhs did, they donated whatever they could, even 10 shillings, 5 shillings, £1, £10, whatever they could afford. And all the cities like Bristol, Cardiff, London, Leeds, everywhere they went. And I appreciate those 4 elders for traveling the whole UK in their age, even though in 1950s and even after that, when I came to England, the weather used to be cold, very cold. When I say cold, yes, because I came here and the snows were knee deep. So you can imagine what the weather was like. But giving them the esteem and respect, these 4 people did a great job. And they collected the amount of money. Once it was collected, then they wanted to buy a house. And there came again Mr. Bhai Singh Landa, who had a house in Mountain Street, and he donated the house to the Gurdwara, and not to spend the collected fund, but to convert the Gurdwara with that fund and made that into a Gurdwara. As Mr. Balwinder Singh had said, it was a house. Yes, it was a house. And that was donated by Bhai Singh Landa. And with the collection and the ceremonies went on, and obviously, as mentioned before, my father became the high priest, and the Sangat down him the high priest management. And my father then was a priest from 1954 till 1971. After, for 16 years, he gave his service as a high priest.
Thank you. And on the heritage table, we have some items from your family, and there's a sword that was presented to your father in recognition. Well, it was presented to you in recognition of your father's work. So I think you're going to give us a short reading at this point about the foundation of the Gurdwara.
I'm just going to read a bit about the foundation of the Gurdwara. In 1952-53, a decision was taken by the congregation to establish a Gurdwara Sahib and start a collection fund to finance the project. So the religious and cultural demand of the Sikhs and their families could be taken care of. To spearhead the project, a committee of 4 respected gentlemen was designated to oversee the collection fund. The 4 designated gentlemen were Sardar Bhai Singh Landa, Sardar Milla Singh Bhakar, Sardar Sant Singh Pardesi, Sardar Khajan Singh Bhakar. Now these four gentlemen respected missionaries embarked on a mission which, with the Guruji's blessing, the four devoted missionaries traveled to all UK cities and Sangat, wherever the Sangat was resident, collecting funds for the Gurdwara Sahib. In 1950, the state of the country was not in any way very stable. The British had recently survived from the Second World War and were, and for that reason, I lost the line. I've written it, but I'm forgetting it. That's just part of the old age, I suppose. Anyway, the losses faced by the Allied forces were phenomenal, and for that reason, the economy was very low. Other factor was that Bhartara Sikhs were here to work and were single men, so what little they earned through door-to-door sales, they endeavored to send back to their families. Nevertheless, they donated whatever they could and were very eager to do so, large or small amounts, but made sure they donated. Their names, towns and amounts were noted, and once the Gurdwara Sahib was established, the full list with their names, towns and amounts took pride of place in the main prayer hall of the Gurdwara Sahib. The concerted effort of the four respected gentlemen who were elders of the community travelled through cold weather without any thought of illness. This was their ingrained devotion of their religious and faith in their belief which led them through thick and thin, offering their abnegating services to the community. Not only that, but went above and beyond to fulfill their mission which the Sangat has bestowed on them. The mission started in 1952-53, and by 1954, the funds were enough to buy a house. But Sardar Bhai Singh Landa donated number 15 Mountain Street, Mosside, which he owned, to the Gurdwara Sahib, and they converted the house into a Gurdwara Sahib with the Nishan Sahib in the forefront of the building.
Thank you. So one thing that really strikes me in all the times that I've worked with and socialised with and spent time with the Sikh community is that whilst there are many strong characters who achieve amazing things, many of whose stories are told in this book, it strikes me that there's a real strength in the Sikh community where everybody pulls together, whether it's to produce food, whether it's to raise funds for a Gurdwara. So, and in your book, what comes out really strongly to me is the concept of seva. So I wondered I think most people here will understand what seva is, but if you could perhaps explain what it is for those who don't, and then tell us why that is so important to the Sikh community.
Seva is a very fundamental service in the Sikh religion. It's a selfless service to the community. It is done in the community, or it can be done anywhere in any community, not only the Sikh community. It's a selfless service which people, Sikhs, do, and it's a part of their life and routine, and that is do service without any personal gain or any personal reward, which is for the community, within the community or in the community, and that is what seva is. That is done free of charge, voluntary, and without any reward.